Hey guys, so for this video I thought I'd do something a little more fun, which is ranking the biggest egos in the Roganverse. Now the comics I'll be ranking are those who are where they are in their career, in part due to Rogan. They've all been on Jerry a bunch of times, benefiting from that exposure, and so a huge chunk of their fan base found out about them through Rogan. Being a part of the Roganverse, I don't think is a knock on their career. Most of these guys are talented and fully deserve to have grown their audience. Also, to do stand-up, I think you have to have an ego. To go on stage in front of thousands of people who you believe will find you funny, you have to believe you're good at what you do and you deserve to be up there on stage in the spotlight. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. A healthy ego is good. However, due to the lovely format of podcasting, some of these guys have shown that their ego can be a little out of control. So let's start. We're going to look at the 5 biggest egos in the Roganverse. We're going to go from smallest to biggest. First, we have Brendan Schaub. Although he's not as self-centered as he used to be, and sometimes he says things that make it seem like he's a humble guy still figuring out comedy, but there are times when he demonstrates his sense of entitlement. There's a reason he gets made fun of a lot. People love to hate him, and a part of the reason is his ego. The fact that he's released 2 specials so early in his comedy career, and his second one is rated the worst comedy special of all time. I think most of us would quit comedy after that, but not Brendan. And look, if he's enjoying himself and people are still going to his shows, then he should continue doing it. But the fact that he lies about how well his career is going, he lies about selling out shows, lies about why he has to cancel shows, he's lied about how many Twitter followers he's gained. He'll just lie about the smallest thing to make himself look better in that moment.
Do you dye your mustache?
No.
That's crazy how
comes in dark
that is
Yeah,
compared to like then you having some gray.
But as it keeps
Not
going,
a lot.
Yeah.
but if I trim it, so it starts off and then it gets gray.
Yeah.
So if it gets longer, it get like it's gray.
You young as fuck, and you got all that gray all on your face.
Well, I used Just for Men the other day.
You didn't use enough.
I know. Well, I looked ridiculous. I looked like Tom Selleck for about 2 minutes.
Next up, we have Bert Kreischer. The fact that this guy can go barely 5 minutes without talking about himself is a demonstration of how big his ego is. He tends to take over any conversation and bring it back to center around himself. It's like he believes his story is always more important.
Neutralized by orderlies, and they'd pick me up and carry me over and put me on a stretcher.
And who's with you? Is Knoxville there right
now?
now?
No. Now I'm on my own in the guts of the Cedar Sinai.
That would give me. I will tell you, I've joked about going to rehab a lot, and I often fantasize about how nice it would be to tap out for a month.
And I squirted that into a rubber, so it's like dishwashing detergent in a rubber. But
It's so funny you say rubber. I've never said that word. Like I've never used that term for that thing.
Okay.
And I've just said it. But like today, I heard Jay-Z say it in a song with Meek Mill.
I don't know that this was a bad one. I mean, we were a little bit all over the place.
Not a bad one.
I mean, yeah, I was telling great stories and you fucked it all up. But
How did I fuck it up?
Well, because I got there, I remember I was talking about it a bit in the psych ward. That was the juiciest shit ever, and then you derailed it.
Don't you?
The next biggest ego is Tom Segura. You guys get it. He's trashed his fans too much. He looks down on people, and I know he might be joking sometimes, but I think that's really how he feels. If I found myself, I don't know, just walking down the street and I saw Tom Segura, I wouldn't want to go and ask for a picture because I would assume that interaction would just piss him off.
If you just sit around and you know what? You only have what you have because of fans, so don't talk about us like that. Yeah, but you're still a loser if you're thinking like that.
This next guy has the second largest ego in the Roganverse. I'm talking about Tony Hinchcliffe. I like the guy. He's good at what he does. I mean, the people who are impressed with Matt Rife's crowd work should really see what Hinchcliffe's been doing for the past 10 years on Kill Tony. He's talented, but does have a large ego. There's definitely a certain smugness about him. I remember watching him on Rick Glassman's podcast, and he was basically just shitting on Rick's friend who quit stand-up to be a writer on a sitcom.
I'm in my young 20s. You're in your young 20s. This is my best bud. I'm in this new place that's weird. Some people are accepting, some people aren't. And you are in the hallway saying, "You're never going to make it, kid."
But I was right.
Oh,
now he's a writer.
He's a executive producer.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
He's doing great.
But but we're talking serious here, right?
Yeah.
Like, we could be executive producers if we wanted to.
I don't know. I don't know
All right.
if that's the case. I mean, I could. I'm not sure.
He took a 9 to 5 route, Rick.
Listen, man.
Great or not great. I mean, if that's what people label success, like writing on a sitcom,
Yeah.
then Fucking yikes, pal.
Someone who often puts people down in a way which makes themselves look better is a classic sign of a big ego. Now, we're at first place. The biggest ego in the Roganverse is Andrew Schulz. Anyone with the confidence to try and pull off that haircut for this long, and of course his Schulz epiphanies. He has a lot of haters out there, man. As I discovered on the problem with the flagrant video, I'm sure he can be a nice guy, but he's done some stuff this past year which made me think he's in his own head too much. The way he treated Whitney Cummings. Whitney was going through a lot at the time, but the fact that he felt that for that whole episode, it was his duty to try and fix her, it was bad. Then there was the Steiny situation. When I first saw this, covered by Comedy Enforcement, shout out to him, I was on Team Schulz. It sounded like he was in a crappy spot that would annoy most people. But when I watched the full episode myself, I thought Schulz came out looking worse. I understand that the Nelk boys were ill-prepared and Steiny was definitely being rude at times, but I thought Schulz overreacted.
Yeah, I love Brad too.
Yeah?
He's great. And what, Brad usually drives it or something like that?
What do you mean?
Like, is he usually driving the interview?
Why? You don't think we're doing a good job of that?
No, not really. I mean, it's not my favorite.
Is this a joke? I don't understand.
Right? Like, I don't know. Like, are you guys having a good time? Why do you feel bad?
I just feel like you targeted me. Did you or no? Did someone tell you to do that?
No. I thought you were just being a little annoying.
How?
I think you're annoying.
Really?
A little bit. Yeah.
So what did I do that annoyed you?
You were the one that came back and said that you felt hurt.
I do feel hurt because I feel like you got pissed off at me.
Well, that's what happens when you have real reactions when you're being phony.
When was
you're
I phony?
phony with somebody
When
and
was
then
I
you get a
phony
real
with you?
reaction, you can't be upset.
When was I phony with
But
you?
you're doing exactly what you should do. You should try to get your moments. This is a good moment for you.
Bro, you're crazy. You think I'm doing this for clicks?
Even the way your voice sounds when you say it isn't real.
Are you
Do
serious
you think
right
you're
now?
being real?
I'm
just
asking
try to
you.
be you.
I mean, I sent a text during the pod, and I think that's when it turned. Is
Right.
that when it turned?
Maybe. I don't know. Your line of questioning after that wasn't great. But I do sense that you're playing a bit of a character, and I don't have as much of a tolerance for characters as I do for authenticity.
You don't think I'm being authentic?
I think in certain moments you were, and that kind of like irritates me.
In what? Can you give us an
Especially
example?
if it's antagonistic. If you're playing a character because you're insecure and you're just trying to do your best to like exist in this moment, which is a high stakes moment, that's okay.
But can you give me an example of when you felt that I was playing a character?
I think you need attention. I think you're doing anything you can to get attention. And right now you're making this podcast about you, which is the most boring part of the conversation. We have much more interesting people to discuss whose lives are more fascinating.
No.
It's like he couldn't fathom that these guys weren't more educated on his career. I don't watch their stuff, but their style seems to be a lot more casual. They don't strike me as the type to have great questions. So I guess after feeling disrespected, Schulz pretty much just picked the weakest link and went after him. Oddly kept throwing compliments to Steve, even though he barely made any effort to ask anything interesting. Steve has a huge fan base and Carl is the one in charge. Since he knew he couldn't get away with trashing all of them, he doubled down on Steiny. If you're mad at all of them, fair enough, but to take it out on the smallest one there, no pun intended, it felt unfair, and it's like he just did it to make himself look better and make himself feel better by just making Steiny look small. So that's my take. I know there's other examples out there, but those were the most notable for me. Let me know if you disagree with the list. Don't hold back. Express yourself in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.